So welcome to the second part of the UN Ocean Conference 2022 virtual side event MarAfrica. Now we'll be back to Africa with Professor Ester Serrão that will talk about the MarAfrica, the Marine Biodiversity Information Network. So you can start.
Let me share my screen. Okay, you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Yes. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to talk about this Marine Biodiversity Information Network for Africa that we are developing in collaboration with many partners. Under a project that's funded by the Aga Khan Foundation and the Foundation for Science and Technology of Portugal, FCT, and also includes work and campaigns, field campaigns funded by other projects, so it has many collaborators across many countries. Here, this is a summary of the title of this project, a network monitoring, integrating and assessing marine biodiversity data along the western coast of Africa, to understand, predict, and mitigate climatic and oceanographic changes. The partners that were included originally in the application were these. So there are several from Cabo Verde, Angola, São Tomé, Guinea-Bissau, South Africa, Morocco, Namibia, Ghana, Mauritania, Mozambique, and also several institutions of higher education and research from Portugal. And since then, other institutions have asked to join. So we cover mostly the Atlantic coast of Africa, and Mozambique is also included, so we go around this corner at the moment. So the main goal of this program is to develop networking and capacitation in marine biodiversity across borders, across different countries along this coastline. So the idea is to organize marine biodiversity information in a way that's integrated and comparable across countries, and also to compile a lot of information that exists. So this is addressing a gap that there is a lot of information that's not available not just for research, but for management, for conservation, for all kinds of applications that need to be done. And it's not that information doesn't exist, it's just that it's not easily available. So the objective is to compile, integrate, interpret, and disseminate and spread this information on marine biodiversity and use it to make predictions and planning for management for the Atlantic coast of Africa. The outcomes that we are trying to achieve is this information network developed with the institutions across all these countries and researchers that together will define and implement common objectives and sharing the standards for marine biodiversity information organization and use, and other relevant information, data standards, analysis standards, applied along this coastline. And the other outcome is a master program for joint training, joint capacitation and networking, so that it allows people to spend some time together working on these topics. And this is our new master program in marine biodiversity conservation and fisheries, which was developed specifically for this goal. Okay, well, this is repeating the outcomes that I just said. For this professional master program that we have just developed starting this year at the University of Algarve, because it's a professional master program, it lasts only 1 year. This is only possible, according to the Portuguese legislation, to have 1 year master programs because it's for professional students that have at least 5 years of work experience. The program is funding 10 fellowships for African professionals from African institutions to spend the first semester in Portugal. This is information on this program, which is aimed mostly at developing this marine biodiversity information network and training how to use the data and how to apply it for management, conservation, and biodiversity knowledge and research. So this is the structure of the first semester in Portugal, which will be based on these main courses with several options. And then there's a second semester, which is going to be professional work, where students can be in their own institutions doing their own work, professional work, but applying what they have learned. The idea here is that the program is not just for organization of data, but it's especially organized for the formulation and analysis of the research questions, the objectives, the leadership, the initiative to be in the hands of the people who are collecting the data, not just to collect the data and then having nothing to do with it. It's the definition of the objectives of the data, and the programs should come from the professionals from these institutions in Africa. Okay, this is an example of a training event that we organized with many countries in Africa. This was organized in Mauritania, but with participants from many different countries, from the region, from the the Western African region, for example, where we had field work and lectures, etc. And here's some examples of the data that we have already started to organize. For example, just to show examples of applications. For each marine protected area or for each country, we organize databases, distribution maps, species catalogs, with species identifications, also with DNA barcodes, develop catalogs of marine biodiversity. For example, here is an example for the marine protected area of the Bank d'Arguin in Mauritania and the surroundings. We have developed a biodiversity database where we include the species identifications with all the dates and geographic locations of all the records of species, the sources of the identifications, the expert verification, DNA barcodes. And for example, in this case, we have thousands of distribution records that already existed and are being now compiled and organized so that they can all be integrated and result in outcomes, and some of the automatic outcomes that have been programmed in this database so that the public can, the general public and managers, etc., can look at the information and easily use it, access it, and apply it for their goals. Include these displays of the platforms to display the data in useful formats for public visualization, such as maps of species distributions, species abundances, diversities, multiple scales. For example, you can choose more detailed scales or more broad scales. You can choose to plot, for example, here it's number of species of algae recorded in this region, or you can choose the number of records or the densities or the abundance of specific species, specific groups. You can put all marine biodiversity or just a specific family or genus or species, etc. So there's many different ways then the database can automatically yield the outcomes that people select. Some examples of also field activities developed within local institutions to increase the amount of information that's available on the databases, because the database includes information that already exists from previous projects, from reports, papers, databases, official databases such as OBIS and GBIF and so on, museum collections, etc. But also new sampling campaigns for habitats. For example, we also developed DNA catalogs of species in these regions. For example, here is sampling of marine animals from Mauritania, where we collect all these samples and sequence and database all these species. Here examples of species from Guinea-Bissau, from the Visigoths, where we're also developing catalogs of DNA databases. Examples from Mauritania of our samplings, macroalgal diversity as well, macroalgae of Guinea-Bissau, for example. All these species have been barcoded, so we have a molecular identification for all these species. And here's some examples of how you can use these DNA barcodes. For example, here you see the identification of the diet of sea turtles. Green turtles from the Visigoths have been identified using these DNA barcodes, where you have the species barcode can be used to identify what's present in their swabs of the esophagus. Here's an example of DNA barcodes from the catalog of elasmobranchs from Mauritania, for example. This was done at the University of Algarve with the collaboration of the local institutions from Mauritania, and it was used to, the catalog of all the DNA barcodes of all the species of Mauritania have been used to identify which species were present at different sites. So these are different sites along the Bank d'Arguin in Mauritania, for example, and you can this way identify just with water samples what were the species of sharks and rays that were present in the different sites and the relative abundances along different sites of the Bank d'Arguin, for example. The same thing we use for that I showed you examples of invertebrates, macroalgae, but also bacteria, microbial biodiversity. We have compared sites and host species for the abundance of different bacteria, and we can identify, for example, that in some areas you have pathogenic bacteria and in other areas not. For example, this is where green turtles feed, and they feed on seagrass, which are the habitats with seagrass are represented in blue, and the habitats with caulerpa, which is a different food of the green turtles, represented in orange. And you see that where they eat, where there is caulerpa, you have pathogenic bacteria, for example, these vibrios and mycoplasma. So with this DNA barcodes, we can identify all these consequences. Some other examples of use of the Marine Biodiversity Information Database. You can estimate then connectivity between marine protected areas along the different regions. For example, here along Western Africa, the potential biodiversity using simulations of transportation by oceanographic currents across marine protected areas. And you can see for different groups, for example, in this case, for seagrasses and macroalgae, what is the potential connectivity between the marine protected areas. You can see that some regions are quite more connected and others are very isolated. Using genetic information, you can also estimate connectivity between populations of the same species. For example, here is a study of connectivity between seagrasses along the western coast of Africa using genetic information and oceanographic information, and comparing the genetic information, which shows just differentiation between the northern and southern hemisphere, and São Tomé and Príncipe especially diverse, with a big mixture of populations of seagrass coming from different sources that are not connected, not linked, not genetically similar to each other. And the oceanographic data don't predict any of this, are completely different. So this indicates that the dispersal is mediated by grazers, such as green turtles that feed on seagrasses and transport the seeds, rather than oceanographic currents. Just an example of, again, the information you can get with this data. Here's an important example of use of these marine biodiversity information networks, databases, I mean. So, for example, here, all the information on the species distribution records was used to predict what will be the future distribution of certain species that are habitat forming. In this case, seagrasses. There are temperate seagrasses in Mauritania, and there are tropical seagrasses in Mauritania. So with climate change, we expect that the temperate ones might tend to disappear and the tropical ones might tend to expand. And so all the database information was used to develop models for the present distribution and to predict what will be the future distribution in 2050 and 2100. And this indicates that the temperate species might be completely lost, and we might be left with just the tropical species, which will expand in the region. So this is just examples of what we can do with this biodiversity data network. And if anyone has any interest in joining or joining the project, or getting more information on the projects or on the master program and our training programs, please contact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted. So we have time for questions.
I can make one question. According to what I understand, the project mixes a little bit the scientific data that you are collecting in real time or during the last years with metadata, or is going to combine both?
Yes. Yes, so the idea is that this information should compile all the existing information, right? This is what's missing, because the information is scattered along different sources. And when managers, for example, from marine protected areas need to answer a certain request, it's difficult to get access of all the information in an integrated format. There might be, for example, a report from a project that studied one aspect, and then a paper that studied another aspect, or a thesis of a master's thesis that studied something else, and it's difficult to have everything integrated. So here in this database, we integrate all the information that's available, for example, from GBIF and OBIS, which are global databases, but also information that's just in papers, research papers, which is not present anywhere else. It requires reading all the papers, collecting the information by hand from each paper and adding it to the database. And that's a huge source of information, because there's a lot of publications. And unfortunately, ecological publications don't really put things in a database like genetic publications put in GenBank, right? So this has to be collected by hand. There's also information, for example, from museums. For example, the macroalgal portal of the Herbaria of the World have a lot of records of macroalgae, which are in the Herbaria of the world, in the museums of the world. There is information from citizen science. For example, iNaturalist has a lot of information. Some of it is validated and so on, so you include this as well. And from our own campaigns and field work, theses, and especially in this region, there's a lot of research projects. Many European research projects, for example, that come here and do campaigns and do work, and then they leave a report, but the actual raw data is not easily available if anyone wants to do something with it. So we're trying to go back and find where is the raw data before the owners of the data, will retire and lose some things are still in a floppy disk that doesn't exist anymore, and in these kinds of digital supports that nobody can read anymore, and things get lost just because technology changes. And sometimes we want to look, who can read a CD now? Our computers don't even read things like that. So it's important to keep things safe in clouds and so on.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Ester, I would like also that, if possible, if you share some more information, because within our assistants, some are students that may be interested in the future also to apply to the scholarships that are available within MarAfrica, special to the master program.
Yes, so this year the applications have already closed for the next for this year, 2022-2023, but next year they will open again. So if you are interested in joining this, please first be aware that you need to have 5 years of professional experience. So for example, students that have just finished their first degree and have not worked cannot apply to do just 1 year master. It needs to be a regular master that lasts 2 years. The Portuguese legislation does not allow us to award 1 year master for someone without this 5 years of work experience. And so it's mostly designed for example, professionals that are already working, but feel the need to get some extra training on something that would be useful for them, and so they join this program. If anyone is interested in applying for the next year, please look at the portal of the University of Algarve, the website, and look for the Master in Marine Biodiversity, Fisheries and Conservation. And it's a professional master. So it should say Professional Master in Marine Biodiversity, Fisheries and Conservation. If you have any questions, please email me and I'll be happy to help you to find it and give any other information.
And also for after they are selected, they can also apply for the scholarship of the project, but then it will be advertised in CCMAR website, right, Esther?
What we do is we only award these fellowships for people that have already been accepted in the master. Okay, so if you are accepted in the master as a student, then we give you information to apply. Okay, we don't open for other people because only people registered in the master are eligible to apply for it. Okay, and we have more candidates than are accepted. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Ester. Thank you very much. So now we will listening Reyes Moyano with Sustainable Horizons, University Designing the Horizons for Sustainability, the University of Huelva Perspective. So, okay, the floor is yours.
I can share my. So, hello, good afternoon, and thank you to the University of Algarve for inviting me to take part in this side event of the UN Ocean Conference. I will briefly introduce you to the Horizon Europe project called Sustainable Horizons within the wider call that will start in September. This project is led by the University of Algarve, and we are 6 institutions taking part in it. The University of Algarve in Portugal, the University of Huelva in Spain, we are very close to Algarve, Banat's University of Agricultural Sciences and Veterinary Medicine in Romania, Lahti University of Applied Sciences in Finland, Ludwigshafen University of Business and Society in Germany, and Thomas Bata University in Zlín in the Czech Republic. We are 6 young institutions open to research and innovation located in small cities within the European Union periphery, and very committed to the local sustainable development, but also very aware of the importance of internationalization and of cooperation. Our logo reproduces the sail of a ship. The shape has been created by linking the position on the map of Europe of the partner universities, and our here, and our ship is sailing towards Africa as well, because our project includes 3 associated partners from 2 African countries, 2 universities from Angola, Universidade do Namibe and the Universidade Agostinho Neto, and 1 university from Mozambique, Universidade Eduardo Mondlane. Also, we include Universidad Andrés Bello from Chile. And one of the outcomes of the project is to increase the African partners during the development of the project. We are several institution partners that have close relationship with different African countries. So that's an outcome. The goals of the project include challenges at educational, research, and society level, and there you have 4 of the main objectives of the project. I would emphasize here 2 of them: integrating discovery-based research on sustainability, since the undergraduate curriculum to PhD programs. Research is the pillar of this project. Research on sustainability is the pillar of this project, and another one is improving links with surrounding ecosystems. So we are very aware of the need of including non-European universities and non-European associated partners in our project because high quality international cooperation in education, research, and training, we think it's vital to address existing and emerging global challenges, and of course to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. So the goals of the project will be achieved through 5 work packages, and there you have the table with the names of these work packages and also the universities that are leading them. I will focus a little bit more I will focus on the second one, sustainability, research and development implementation, which is the one led by the University of Huelva. And this work package includes several tasks. And again, I will emphasize two of them. The first one is the organization and management of the SHE, Sustainability Sciences Horizon Observatory, SHE meaning Mother Earth also for us. It will be a common institution that will be managed in a shared way by the partners and will be in charge of coordinating and leading activities contributing to major sustainable development goals and facing climate change in our campus and beyond. Well, I think she will be like these baobab trees that there are sometimes in the center of African villages, under which shade many things happen. It will include three main areas: education, research, and innovation, knowledge transference to society, and sustainable campuses. To be promoters of change, the 21st century professional must be endowed with solid scientific knowledge and must hold the capacity to incorporate it in order to better understand the interactions between global, natural, social, and human systems, and how such interactions affect the sustainability context. And this observatory will work on towards that. And the fifth task, PhD distant learning program and PhD candidates involved in research projects about sustainability, is also a very important pillar of this project. A distant learning PhD program in sustainability will be developed, and the goal of this doctoral degree is to promote excellent and internationally competitive advanced training, transversely integrating solid and up-to-date knowledge for sustainable development. These studies are oriented to provide human resources with tools to understand and to respond to current and future challenges that are posed to sustainability. This project will include grants that will be shared by partners and by associated partners. And the work done by PhD students and supervisors will be the basis for the research of the institute. Well, also, as you can see, there are many other tasks included in the work package, like summer schools at local and international level. Also, a lot of Sustainable Horizons community actions in order to engage communities in this project. External funding for research about sustainability will be encouraged as well. Not only we won't use only the funding from this project, but we will use another tools that we have within the European Commission, but also national projects or other tools that we would be able to use. And a database of research about sustainability, science, and the development of the pillar Sustainable Camping Initiative. So we don't have many times, so I won't go. So how would associated partners benefit from the project? Well, they will be part of the project in not in the same way administrative speaking as the partners, but they will benefit from most of the actions and most of the proposals and ideas. So for distant learning PhD program, by co-tutel with associated partners in Africa and also in Chile or other associated partners we will have. This will encourage researchers to focus more on designing and developing sustainable solutions which respond to local problems. So the PhD student won't need to go away from their own countries to develop a PhD. So it will contribute to in situ capacity building, which is also an important goal of this project. They will benefit from the grants, and we will use a gender equality approach. So also women will be able to benefit from this distant learning PhD programs. Also, being part of SHE will mean that they will benefit from any activity or summer school or open meeting that we will organize. There will be physical activities, but also virtual activities. So, and they will be open to associated partners. Also to attend to researchers' meetings or participating in research project with the funds we have. The idea is, as I said before, to use other tools that we have, like, for example, Erasmus Mobility K171 program, which provides a lot of mobilities, and most of the partners have agreements with African countries. So it's quite easy to get these agreements, because Africa is now very important for the European Commission. So it is easy to get these agreements, and it's an added tool that we will be able to use in this project. And of course, the database on research about sustainability will be open, and any associated partners will have free access to data. So this is a summary of these Sustainable Horizon projects, not yet results, because it will start in September, but a lot of challenges and a lot of ideas that we hope we will get. Okay, and in the next 5 minutes, I would like to show you a video about the cooperation of the University of Huelva with different institutions in Senegal, a cooperation that we really appreciate and value. We have focused our energy and resources in Senegal to build an open and transverse project that keeps growing, including academic and research cooperation, but also field work. It is not a blue project, it's more a green one. But Alexandra asked me to show it to you, maybe as an example of university cooperation with institutions in Africa. And well, in the end, we need blue and green to achieve the SDGs and preserve our planet. So I'll try to share it with you. Mm-hmm. Can you listen? No? No?
No, you have to go on the options on the top of the Zoom panel and enable or share sound or share audio.
Where, sorry?
On the top of your Zoom, there is a button, view options.
Options, okay.
Yeah. There is a share sound or allow sound from PC, something like this.
I can't find it, sorry.
There you go. We can hear it now.
You can hear it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Senegal está situado en África Occidental y posee paisajes que van desde el desierto en su zona norte hasta los bosques tropicales de la zona sur, con áreas muy vulnerables para la conservación de los ecosistemas que las conforman.
En 2018 celebramos el Foro África en nuestra universidad, con la participación de diferentes personalidades del mundo africano y también del mundo académico español y de la administración. Entre los frutos de este foro fue la adhesión de la Universidad de Huelva al programa MarAfrica.
Quiero agradecer a esa gente que nos ha invitado a compartir esta semana, que de verdad es una semana muy buena por la ciudad de Huelva, porque tanta gente reunida aquí con la diversidad de lo que tenemos, que es las sabidurías. Eso es un paso más adelante, eso puede vender la ciudad afuera.
En estos proyectos implica a profesores, a investigadores, se contrata personal expatriado y también contamos con la colaboración inestimable de estudiantes voluntarios.
Se trata de una zona situada en el sureste de Senegal, en el pueblo de Dindefelo, que existe una reserva natural debido a los valores de gran interés que tiene la zona en cuanto a un relieve espectacular, unas formaciones vegetales muy interesantes, la presencia de grandes simios y presencia de cascadas y además un gran patrimonio cultural que le ha valido la denominación de patrimonio de la Unesco.
En los últimos años hemos contado con la colaboración de la Universidad de Huelva, que nos ha dado apoyo técnico, científico y financiero para poder llevar adelante proyectos agroforestales y también de formación en turismo que han beneficiado a la comunidad local y también a la conservación de los chimpancés.
Les fellows que nous avons créés. Alors, l'intervention en matière, n'est-ce pas, de recherche, en matière, n'est-ce pas, de vulgarisation avec tout ce qui est en train d'être fait, n'est-ce pas, dans le cadre de la sensibilisation visuelle, ce qui se trouve au niveau de la localité avec l'aménagement des panneaux, mais aussi avec tous les projets, n'est-ce pas, que nous avons entretenus et que nous allons en perspective faire dans le cadre de, n'est-ce pas, des trucs sociaux, géologiques et environnemental.
Donc, nous sommes là pour la conservation, nous sommes là pour la protection et la gestion durable des ressources naturelles. Donc, cela réuni va améliorer le cadre de vie de la population. Et c'est l'objectif vraiment de la création de la réserve. Donc, vraiment, nous comptons avec la bonne volonté de l'Université Huelva pour vraiment nous projeter dans un avenir meilleur.
Mais puisque je l'ai fait, il y a l'université de Huelva qui a financé le jardin. Et elle a fait beaucoup d'efforts. Moi aussi, nous aussi, nous avons fait des efforts pour ça. Et voilà, aujourd'hui, avec le jardin, nous avons pu réaliser, c'est-à-dire avec les cultures, avec le chou pommé, avec l'oignon, avec le poivron, avec l'aubergine douce, etc. C'est-à-dire, ce n'est plus comme avant. Ils partaient de Dindefelo pour acheter les légumes, pour manger.
El segundo proyecto se inició en 2019 y buscaba reducir la dependencia de la población de la agricultura. Para ello tratábamos de aprovechar otro recurso que es la riqueza natural de la zona.
Elementos que pueden ser utilizados como recursos geoturísticos y como un elemento más de atracción turística hacia esta zona. La colaboración con la Universidad de Cheikh Anta Diop es fundamental, puesto que son los investigadores de la Universidad de Cheikh Anta Diop los primeros que han descubierto este sitio y los primeros que han empezado a aportar, pues son los que han puesto las bases de lo que después viene siendo la investigación en esta zona.
Professionnels du tourisme, les propriétaires de campements, les gérants, les cuisinières, dans leur capacitation pour donner une meilleure qualité de l'offre touristique. On a donc des formations en faune, flore, en géologie, en tout un tas de disciplines, en premiers soins, pour accompagner les professionnels. À côté de ça, on a une partie de valorisation et de promotion de la réserve naturelle communautaire.
El proyecto, lo que a mí respecta, conlleva la extracción de información sobre geología y el medio físico para la creación de paneles que mejoren el turismo.
Nuestro agradecimiento a todas las personas que nos han acompañado en este camino. Las huellas de las personas que caminaron juntas nunca se borran.
So this is just a glimpse of the different projects we are developing. It is not in the video, but in the last months we are cooperating with the University Cheikh Anta Diop in Dakar and with the Ministère des Mines et de la Géologie de Senegal to prepare a proposal for UNESCO Global Geopark in the area of Dindefelo. It would be the third Geopark in Africa out of 177 in the world. So Africa is the continent less represented. So this is also a challenge, but also an amazing goal. So this is all from my part. If you have any question or you want to know something else about our projects, I'm open to it.
So thank you, Reyes. We have a minute just for a quick question.
I have a question or a curiosity. These videos seems to give us the idea that is necessary people to implement all this capacity. So my question is, the people that we are seeing in the videos, are local researchers or PhDs that have taken the already this distance learning course?
No, not in this case. This is not in this case. The PhD that we have seen is well, the student has done the PhD at the University of Huelva, but well, she's working there. But these are not distance learning PhD. This is something that we want to implement, but it hasn't been implemented in this video.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay,
thank you.
Just to thank you also, Reyes, for sharing with us this experience in Africa. In fact, this is precisely what we would like also to develop, and it will be tested within this new European project that Reyes was presented. We would like that the PhD students and early research stay in Africa and have their formation and their education, advanced education there, only with short supervisions from institutions in Europe. And I hope that after 2 years we will be able to have some results concerning to this to show to all. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. This would be really nice to show this project with the implementation of the distance learning program for next occasion.
Okay, thank you, Reyes. Now, the next talk is about the Partnership for Observation of the Global Ocean, the POGO, by Dr. Lilian Krug.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, what about my screen?
Yes, you can see.
Good, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting us for this side event. As Vanya said, my name is Lilian. I'm a researcher at the Center for Marine and Environmental Research at CIMA at UALG, and also the scientific coordinator of POGO. So I'm going to try to be quick. Apologies. There you go. All right, so first, what is POGO? It's a consortium of oceanographic institutes from around the world, and the membership is represented by the directors of these institutes. At POGO, they can meet with their peers and with officials from partner organizations to discuss issues of interest, of mutual concern, and plan appropriate action. Our goal is to achieve worldwide cooperation for a sustainable, state-of-the-art and truly global ocean observing system, serving the needs of science and society. We believe that such system can only be global and truly global if we ensure that scientists and institutions everywhere, and particularly in undercovered areas, such as developing countries in the Southern Hemisphere, are contributing to it as well. We currently have 55 members in 29 countries in all continents, and we work together, our members and the Secretariat, towards this goal. basing our activities on these 3 pillars right here. So the first one is by promoting ocean observations, by conducting research and supporting development of new technologies. And we also work towards developing worldwide capacity for oceanographic observations by supporting training and knowledge transfer. And finally, advocating on behalf of marine science community to society by improving literacy and influencing policymakers. So some of the ways that we support innovation and development in ocean observing is by funding working groups and projects led by our members that envision this purpose, and also by working with several organizations such those depicted on the bottom image. So, for instance, POGO helped launching the Argo Drifters back in the early 2000s and the Ocean Sites program, and we provided financial support to those programs in the beginning. We were also involved on the creation of the Blue Planet initiative at the Geo Group. And in 2019, together with the Geo Blue Planet, we launched the Oceanscape portal, which is an initiative dedicated to identify the numerous organizations in this letter soup of organizations in the ocean space. So I would like to show a few examples of the projects led by our members in innovation in ocean observing. And the first one, it's called Open Mods. These are a collaborative project for the development of a low-cost instrumentation. And so with that, we can increase observing infrastructure in coastal areas. And this project is funded by POGO and involves researchers and engineers from Italy, Germany, and Cabo Verde. We also have the acquisition of oceanographic data for sustainable resources management in the Gulf of Guinea. This project is led by NIOMAR, the Nigerian Institute of Ocean and Marine Research, together with other institutes in the West Africa, and aims the establishment of a long-term monitoring and database of oceanographic data, as well as to promote regional capacity development, providing shipboard and laboratory training for early careers. Since 2020, POGO launched the Biota project, which is led by the University of Ghana, Dr. Eden Mahu, and involve members and non-member institutes from 6 West African countries to establish an ocean acidification monitoring network at the area. The objective is to map the hotspots of ocean acidification and integrate the region in the observing networks that are global and regional. With the support of the Ocean Foundation, the Biota members will receive a GoA1 box kit to monitor carbonate system variables. And the focal points in each of these countries are coordinating activities with stakeholders for engagement at national level, and a hybrid training to understand ocean acidification, which will be delivered with the assistance of the Ocean Teacher Global Academy. The newest project is the Beacon project, which is also led by the University of Ghana and aims to strengthen regional and international collaboration and the best practices for monitoring pollution on bentos. Towards the second pillar, since the early days, POGO made one of its objectives increase capacity development in developing countries, and is a central element in our agenda. So we have different training activities, each one with their own merits. Since 2001, POGO and its partners have trained over 1,000 early career researchers from 89 countries. And in Africa only, 20% of these grants were toward African early career professionals, and from 25 countries. And some of our former alumni are now directors in their universities and institutions, or members of ministry and high-level positions in their government. So very quickly, examples of this training modality. So the first one, it's example of training in world-leading oceanographic institutes. So the NF POGO Center of Excellence is funded by the Nippon Foundation and receives annually 10 students from 10 different countries for an immersive hands-on training in observational oceanography. And the POGO Score Visiting Fellowship, early career scientists can go to an oceanographic institution of their choice to spend between 1 to 3 months in training with one-to-one training with experts. But we also recognize the importance of bringing expertise to developing countries. And these initiatives include some regional center of excellence, which were held so far in Latin America and Asia. And the next one, I believe, in a few months, will be held in Togo. And on the POGO visiting professorship, the scientists go visit a developing country for conduct training for a period of 2 weeks up to 3 months. And this program ran for 10 years, and it was held in 14 countries, including Namibia, South Africa, and Tunisia. Some other regional initiatives supported by POGO is expanding regional participation in local trainings. Some of these include Master in Applied Marine Science at the University of Cape Town in South Africa, the Masters in Physical Oceanography in Danang. Another example was the Luanda Waterfront Project in Angola. And the latest one was a hybrid workshop on coastal observations in Mozambique. The great advantage of these trainings is that they can reach a higher number of trainees, tackle subjects of relevance to the region, and be better tailored to the working conditions and resources of local institutions and researchers. But also few opportunities exist for students to acquire skills necessary to participate and coordinate oceanographic campaigns. So building the infrastructure and expertise of our members, POGO provides such trainings to early careers join major oceanographic expeditions. And we also have open calls, which is to match applicants with fellowship opportunities when they become available. We conduct floating summer schools in dedicated training cruises, where early career marine scientists spend up to 4 weeks on board the German icebreaker Polarstern, as she traveled between South or North Atlantic, receiving hands-on intensive training supported by a suite of background lectures, exercises, and presentations. One example of shipboard training, a successful shipboard training, was held in 2020 on board the research vessel Bayabona on the Nigerian Institute of Oceanographic and Marine Research under the Oceanographic Data Project I mentioned earlier. So there we had 6 trainees attending not only the cruise, but also spending 1 month prior to the cruise and another month after the cruise at Niomar to receive training in biological, chemical, physical, and geological oceanography. Very briefly, we also like to follow the progress of our trainees after the training and evaluate the medium and long-term impact of the trainings. So we created an alumni network that provides further opportunities for the alumni. These include research projects and support to outreach activities. POGO also partnered with several organizations when striving for more ocean literate society. So we attend a high-level conference such as the UN Ocean Conference and conduct activities communicating about the importance of ocean observations. One of our proudest examples is the project Collect that began last year and is concluding this September, which aims to demonstrate the potential for acquisition of data by citizen scientists on the distribution and abundance of coastal debris in African countries. So secondary school students from 7 countries, 6 of those in Africa and 1 in Malaysia, went to the beach to collect plastics, micro, meso, and macro plastics, following scientific protocols for sampling. And so Collect and the other projects mentioned earlier are helping to enhance the monitoring of oceanographic data and environmental impacts in the West African region and strengthening the regional partnership between such institutions. It is our desire to expand these partnerships for the entire African continent. We believe that together we can have the expertise to build a truly global ocean observing system, which includes coasts of all ocean bases in North and South Hemisphere. We call on all like-minded institutions to join us so that collectively we can develop the skills needed. So you can become a member of POGO if your institute will be recognized as belonging to the group of oceanographic research institutes and will actively contribute to developing the global agenda for ocean observing. To facilitate the membership of institutions from low-income countries, special rates are applied for the first 3 years of membership. And if you are an early career ocean professional, consider applying for one of our trainings. You can check current training announcements in our website, receive it in your inbox by subscribing to our mailing list, or check our social media. So thank you for your attention, and please contact us if you have any questions.
Thank you. Lilian. So we have time for questions.
I got one. I wonder about, I would like to know about the workshops you have made on coastal areas. Are in Mozambique in later year, are these like focus on the littoral and bias? Do they require technical equipments, or are they just qualitative approaches that don't require so much heavy equipments? What is the work we have been done with these partners?
Yes, I cannot completely answer this question for you. This was one of the projects submitted or proposals submitted by one of our members. It was actually from INCOIS in India, who partner with organizations in Mozambique and Saudi Arabia, I believe. And they held this workshop that was a hybrid, so partially online and partially presential in Mozambique. And the idea was to level ocean observation capacity in different regions of the Western Indian Ocean. So there are regions that are very well covered and monitored, whereas there are regions that are in need. And their idea was get together, share experiences, and those that have more capability support the other area. So it was held, I believe that it was in early June, and we are still to receive the report. So I'm not very sure, but I know it was very successful, and they partnered with another member-supported project training that was held in Scotland at SAMS on biogeochemical fluxes, learning how to operate bioargo floats. They share experiences online.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco.
Now, just also a small question, Lilian. This ocean acidification project within the Guinea Gulf, it's still possible to join partners to join or not?
I believe it's possible. I can pass you the contact of Aiden Mahu, the PI from Ghana.
Okay, because maybe for the Little Fish project in São Tomé, maybe this capacity building that you are building across how to measure ocean acidification, maybe it will be relevant to São Tomé.
Definitely, yes. Yeah, I will put you in contact with Eden.
So thank you, Lilian.
Thank you.
In the next presentation, Dr. Pedro Moraes will talk about the Sustainable and Smart Aquaculture Collab contribution to the capacity building in marine Africa. So Pedro, it's your time.
And I'm here. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's not good. Well, it's good morning for me, not for you. So I'm really happy to be here and to be among so many friends. And I want to say hi to Professor Ana Barbosa. I miss you. Let me try to see. Let me try to see how I can share this. I'm in my wife's computer, so that's why my name is Uta. It's a German name. It says that it's invalid. Just a second. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Let me see if I can present it. Okay, so thank you all for the invitation to be here, and particular to Professor Alexandra. She's been spearheading all the efforts that S2 Aqua is developing regarding capacity building in Africa. So all the applauses, they go to you. S2 Aqua is a key player in aquaculture innovation and sustainability in Portugal. We are a recent institution. We started working almost a year ago, but it builds up on the experience of its researchers of over 30 years already. And we have two higher education institutions involved in S2 Aqua, a research institution, multiple aquaculture companies, and even municipalities in southern Portugal. The world population is growing. As of this morning, we are almost reaching 8 billion people in the world. And feeding all these people is a big endeavor for the future. The world population is estimated to grow up to 10.5 billion people by the end of the century. And just from 1999 and up to next year, more than 2 billion people were added to the world population, 25% in just 24 years. And it is predicted that the world population will stabilize around, will peak around 10,000, 13 billion people, and then stabilizes around 9 billion people by the year, by the 24th century. The same happens in Africa. The population in Africa is growing. 1.5 billion people, 1.4 billion people as of today. It's the second most populated continent, the second biggest one. And like I mentioned, how can we feed such a growing population without further destroying our planet? Well, nowadays we know that we are using unsustainable sources of protein, either from terrestrial animals or aquatic. Many of the production of these animals, it's, I was going to say inhumane, but it doesn't have into account the animals' well-being, and even in the ocean, it's highly destructive. Either fisheries or even aquaculture, some aquaculture facilities. The way that we raise these animals, it's also not sustainable in the sense that the quantity of feed that we need to produce alpha, in this case, alpha kilo of cattle. So we need alpha kilo of feed to produce we need 6.8 pounds of feed to produce one pound of cattle meat, and the ratio is more or less 1-to-1 when it regards to fish. Of course, this varies depending on the species that is being produced. So by 2050, we will need 56% more food in the world to be able to feed everyone. But one of the biggest challenges is we cannot continue destroying our planet, particularly on land, and destroying the soil for agriculture, because it is already unsustainable in many places of the world. Many places in the world, there's no soil, there's no nutrients in the soil there, and there's no soil to be used for agriculture. We also can lower the emissions if we start using the ocean to produce our to use the ocean as our source of proteins. Of course, there's always a chance to change our diet to plant-based food, but obviously not everyone is still in with the mindset to make that transition, and it will take time, but it will get there as well. Aquaculture will soon surpass the wild fisheries. There's obviously an increase in the amount of fish that is produced in aquaculture, in opposition to that is captured by wild fisheries. It started in this data shows data from the 1950s, and aquaculture corresponded only up to one metric ton globally, and now it will grow very, very, very fast until the end of the century. Well, the data here is only up to 2050. Let me just change something here. Nowadays, almost half of the world fish is produced in aquacultures. The increase in global fisheries is very, very low, 5.6% between 2000 and 2018, in opposition to aquaculture, which increased 153%. So there's limited space on land. Most of the human population is concentrated in coastal areas. There's the price tag for these areas is very, very high. So what can we do to increase the production area inland? One of the solutions is to use areas that are damaged that have been used, that have very low value. And I remember talking with an urban development professor at UC Davis, and we were talking about how difficult, well, I was talking about how difficult it is to change the cities' infrastructures, to improve them and make cities more efficient in terms, for example, of energy solutions, transports, and all that. And he was saying, well, it's not that difficult. Yet again, it was me not being very optimistic. And he said, well, actually, it's very easy to change that, to make a city to become more efficient, because if there's value in that city, because if there's value in that land, then there will be investors, and the change will happen. And if we have this mindset, if we look into these plots of land, these areas of land that apparently have no value for example, agriculture, and they are near coastal areas, it is easy to transform those areas into aquaculture facilities inland. But of course, we cannot forget that we can also use the ocean, and as you can see, there's a big investment in offshore aquaculture. These images are just an example of what's happening worldwide. You can use this. You can have these ginormous structures in Norway to produce salmon. In a not so bigger scale, you have these cages in offshore in Qatar, and they are already all over the world. These sort of infrastructures. There are some others that seem much more manageable, which is these aquapods. You can see here on the left these aquapods in the Gulf of Mexico, some also in the coast of California. Obviously, this comes with some legal fights, but I'm sure that that with time, this will be seen as a very sustainable and low impact way to produce fish offshore, particularly because if you analyze the impacts on the water, the impacts on the sediment, they are practically negligible, and the fish basically they are feeding in what's in the water, and there's not much need for to be fed manually, because they are feeding it from what the ocean is giving them in many cases. So S2 Aqua is like I mentioned, a hub for aquaculture innovation and sustainability, and it's also a partner for capacity building in Africa. And no nation is independent if it is not able to guarantee its food security for its population. Aquaculture should be seen as a major contribution to the gross domestic product, with, I'm not going to say with minimal effort, but with some investment, it is possible to obtain a greater dividend by this investment. And education is essential. And education is essential not only for us in Portugal, but like I mentioned right at the beginning, S2 Aqua, we have been involved in education programs, in creating master and PhD programs, supporting master and PhD programs not only in Portugal but also in Africa. And some of you here, you have been involved in some of those programs and projects that we have been proposing and that have been accepted along the past year. And without further ado, I thank you all for attending this presentation, and I welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. Inicio. So we have time just for a quick question. Anna?
Oh, wow, I love the Californian poppies.
It is really nice to see you, Pedro.
Likewise, always.
May I? Yeah, I would like
Yes.
just to ask you, Pedro, what do you feel is the strongest challenge in the context of emerging innovative aquaculture?
First is mentality. Mentality in the sense that it is still much perceived that that fish produced in aquacultures, they are not as good, as healthy as wild fish. But it is impossible to feed the world relying solely on fish from fisheries. Most of the fish that we eat, most of them, it comes from very destructive fishing methods. And the same way that we look to the past and we think that is outrageous, how we could have hunt for bears or go into for example, into Africa and hunt for lions or just for fun. Our descendants, they will look to us in outrage and think, how is it possible that these people destroyed our planet in just 150 years since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution? The footprint that we leave regarding plastic is ginormous. In just 50 years, we inundated the ocean with plastic, and it will remain there for hundreds of years. So the first thing is to change mentality. The other thing is, I'm 99% vegan these days, but I still like fish. Yesterday I ate salmon for the first time in a long time, but we also need to change our diet to a more plant-based diet. So it's strange that I work for a aquaculture center, but that's a fact. And you can be vegan and still support aquaculture because we have seaweeds. But yeah, the mentality these days is the main thing, and people in Portugal in Portugal in particular, because that's the reality that I know, we might think that we are eating a sea bass from the ocean, but in fact, most of the sea bass that we buy in the supermarkets in Portugal, they are produced in aquacultures, and if each country would have these aquapods, I'm imagining in Cape Verde or São Tomé, if each village would have his aquapod, the footprint to get that food in terms of carbon footprint, it would be so low, and it would still be possible for local communities to get their income from such a sustainable way of producing protein.
Thank you.
Pedro, you have a question in chat. If you
can you read it to me?
Answer quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. More education, more policy, educate politicians. I think that if we educate the population, the politicians will be educated. Well, even if they are not educated, they will be forced to follow the public opinion because they need the votes. And if the public opinion changes, the politicians will change. Everything, advertisement, yes, also. But it's not only advertisement. I remember that I became a biologist, not only because of, or a scientist, not only because of Cousteau, but also because of all the public outreach activities that I participated when I was a kid. There were much less opportunities in the 1980s than those that exist today. So, for example, in Portugal, having the Centro de Ciência Viva, it's really key to educate the public and children. It is also very, very important. For example, in São Tomé, the project Tato, it is doing an incredible job there, educating the population. So outreach is essential, not only advertisement, but starting from the base, starting with children.
May I just have a very quick comment, Pedro?
Sure, absolutely.
It was very nice to hear your optimistic, very optimistic future with aquaculture. Well, I just have a very quick comment.
Sure.
We have to be very careful not to fill a hole, digging a new one. And I'm very afraid that we are doing this if we are not paying attention to the real problems of aquaculture. And the problems of aquaculture is not only environmental, it's not only economics, but also social. I mean, we are still feeding fish with fish. I mean, we have to avoid carnivorous fish. We are still having problems with jobs by season. It's very, maybe not in our world, in our Western world, but in most parts where the aquaculture is very high, we are really have problems with salaries, with the social problems. So we have to be very careful with this innovation, because the innovation is based exactly on the sustainability, and that's what I'm saying, not to fill one hole and digging a new one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pedro.
No, it's a pleasure seeing you again, Professor. So, and I agree, and that's why I included that image of a tilapia farm production in Asia. That's not sustainable. That's not healthy. That's not healthy protein. So, in many places, like, revenue comes first, then public health. But that's what happens these days with chickens, with cows, and yeah. But I agree with you. It's not a pink sea. it's not only rainbows and flowers. There's still much work ahead, and education is key. And I believe the newest generations they are much more aware of that, and I believe that change will come. There's this expression that I heard recently, which is environmental grief, and that young children, they feel that pressure that the world is going in the wrong direction, and they feel that they cannot rely on us, that they have to hold that pain and change the planet for the better. And the speech that Greta Thunberg made in 2019-18 in the United Nations, she was, I don't know how old she was at that time, 14, 15. She was full of sadness and rage, and that's a reflection of what many of what younger generations feel these days, and they are here to change things.
Thank you, Pedro. We need to move on. And
bye, everyone. Thank you.
Challenges. The challenge of 2030 agenda for Angolan fisheries biology. The case study of Sardinella species will be present by Domingas Quijatuhanga. So, Domingas. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Domingas Quijatuhanga, PhD student at the University of Algarve. My approach is related to challenge of 2030 agenda for Angolan fisheries, with focus on fisheries biology of two Sardinella species that co-occur along the Angolan coast. Just to put the topic in the context, it's important to say that this approach is related to the goal 14th of the Agenda 2030, that is related to life underwater, more specifically related to indicator 14.5 that has to do with the conservation of coastal and marine areas, especially those of high biodiversity. The second indicator is 14.7 that has to do to the increased economic benefits from sustainable use of marine resources. And the last one is the indicator that has to do with the increased scientific knowledge, research, and technology for ocean health. Well, Angola is part of the Benguela upwelling system, one of the most important eastern boundary upwelling system. And is characterized with some important oceanographic features. The first one is the Angola current that with southward flow, meeting the Benguela current, forming the Angola-Benguela frontal zone, an important area for fish production. Another feature is the low oxygen water, mostly in the southern coast of Angola. The laterite upwelling cell in Namibia that influences the South Angola, and the quasi-decadal Benguela Niños events. All of those features influence the small pelagic community along the coast that is composed by Sardinella species, both Sardinella aurita and Sardinella madeirensis, Trachurus tricha and Trachurus capensis, Scombercolias, and Encrausioles. Sardinella species are highly distributed along the world ocean. In Africa, they can be found along the west coast and has been identified 3 main stocks. One in the north from Mauritania to Guinea, the second one in Central Africa from Ivory Coast to Ghana, and the third one in the southern coast of Africa from South Gabon to Angola. Those species are important in terms of ecological relevance, because they are part of the mid-trophic level, being the link of higher and lower trophic level. They are very sensitive to environmental variability. That's why they are seen as good ecological indicators. They have important socioeconomic relevance in Angola, and currently their biomass is relatively stable along the coast of Angola. In Angola, they make north-south migrations. In austral winter, they can found in northern coast, and in austral summer, they migrate southwards. Those migrations patterns are mostly related both by the south flow of the Angola current, by the advected winds driving to the north, and coastal currents in the wave zones. In terms of biology, those species, they share some common biological and ecological features. They're both abundant in upwelling areas. They have the same reproductive strategies that they both have 2 spawning peaks per year. They both feed on phytoplankton and zooplankton, and both also have a fast-growing species. However, Sardinella aurita seems to be more oceanic, and Sardinella madeirensis is a coastal species. In terms of migrations, Sardinella madeirensis aurita shows an active migration patterns, while Sardinella madeirensis shows less active migration patterns. In terms of their biomass and landings, it's important to say that most of these results are from the hydroacoustic research along the coast of Angola. In terms of biomass, currently, it's known that this program has been carried out from 1985 to 2020. These show highly fluctuations in the biomass, and most of this fluctuation is related to some physical anomalies, such as the sea surface temperatures anomalies that, as I mentioned before, occur in a quasi-decadal time scale. So here we can see that in 1994-95 occurred the Benguela Niño, and this can be seen here. It was a warm event. During this period, these species migrate to southward, reaching Namibian's waters. And it's important to say that also the rest of these fluctuations are currently poorly known. In terms of cages, it can be seen that there's also high fluctuations in Sardinella cages. And here it's important to note that in Angola, those cages, statistic cages, are not separated. It's counted as one unit for both species. And we can also see that there's high fluctuation in cages. In terms of capture per unit effort, we can also see high fluctuation along the years. And most, as I said, most of those fluctuation, either in biomass catch and capture for unit effort, are related with some physical features of the Angolan coast. What is known currently about the fishery biology? Currently, is carrying out a study on age and growth, reproduction, feeding ecology, and microplastic contaminations of both species along the coast. For all of these 4 items, we already have some preliminary results. And in terms of biomass, we also know that those species currently show a relatively stable biomass along the coast. Studies are also being carried out in order to understand their length, frequency, distribution along the coast, and also the catch statistic, or the statistic catches. And for this last item, it's important to say that this is a big problem because, as I said previously, it's not separated. They count both species as one unit. So in terms of challenge for the Agenda 2030 in Angola, we found that there are 3 main challenges. One is related to their biology, the second one to fisheries, and the third one to management and conservation. For biology, during the last, during 90s, only adult Sardinella species occurred in Angolan waters. So during recent years, it's been seen juveniles in most landings along the coast. So this suggests that Angolan waters is becoming favorable for Sardinella spawning and recruitment. So that's why it's important to carry out studies that attempts to understand whether there is or not spawning and growth areas along Angolan coast. In terms of fisheries, it's important to improve fishing statistics in order to have a more realistic data on their fishing statistics. And it's also important to carry out studies that attempt to understand if there is or not recruitment hotspots for both species. In terms of management and conservation, it's important to carry out studies that attempt to promote reduction of the fishing quota along the coast. And as it happens with other small pelagic fish, more specifically to implement the close period for both species, especially in the spawning periods. So this is what I had to say about the challenges of for the 2030 agenda for both Sardinella species that occur along the Angolan coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Mingus. So we have time just for a very quick question, okay?
Okay.
I can make one. Hi, Mingus, nice to see you. And nice, and nice to see that you have kept the interest on trying to relate the biology of fisheries, the environmental is very, I think is very important. So I just have one question. Do you have more or less now the idea what is the age at first maturity of Sardina? And what about the Sardina spawning season? Is Sardina a batch spawner? Does it has a long spawning season, or it's just a short? Or is Do you have already some data on it?
Yeah, I have some preliminary data on reproduction, but not on age. Currently, we are working to have those results on age and growth. But about the spawning periods, they spawn twice a year. And they spawn twice a year, especially in April and November.
And just now, and the size at first maturity is 1 year, 2? Do you get already some idea or not yet?
No, we do not have these results yet, but we are working on it, and I think very soon we'll be having those results. It's part of my PhD, so I think in the next 2-3 months we'll have these results.
Okay, good luck. I'm happy. Thank you.
So now we go to the last presentation. Professor Carmen dos Santos will talk about the CMARA, the doctoral program in Marine and Environmental Science in Angola and Collaborative Center of Excellence in Marine Science Development Context of CMR Africa. So Carmen.
Hi, everybody. I'm fine, and you, Vania?
I'm okay.
For
I will
everybody, hello. I am in the Ocean Conference in the Angola stand, and we don't have a good conditions to perform this presentation. So I would like say thank you for inviting us to presentation a little bit about our program, for made some great increase in our institutions and the cooperation in our institutions. So my presentation is very, very, very brief, very quickly. We want to show you the very important step in the cooperation and our relationship between Agostinho Neto University, fundamentally, and Namib University and Algarve, University of Algarve. While our commitment is perform for us with your experiences, one center, collaborative center of excellence in marine science in Angola, CICIMA. This is a very old dream, and we came through very quickly. We have for that the base for a PhD program. We have achieved in the last month with some I don't remember in English, but we have started in the next year a PhD program, and for the PhD program we will able to perform, to fit, if I can say fit, our capacities or abilities from science, ocean science or marine science. So these two centers will be together, and we will will be perform a comprehensive plan, comprehensive program in order to establishment I can remember in English for our vou terminar em português porque não acho que deve ser o barulho ou a desconcentração, mas na realidade, Vânia, podes depois traduzir, é mais para dar um salto em termos de investigação científica e de programas científicos. So I can finish say this work will be to improve our abilities or our skills for improve our programs in the scientific research and programs connect with our teaching programs, and finally we want to increase more our capacity building in order to have more people work in the marine science. So thank you very much, and welcome to some questions if you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. It's maybe a step in scientific development and education. See, so resuming.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So we have time for a question.
Okay. I will just add, thank you, Carmen, so much for joining us here, and also to help us constructing the voluntary commitment to ocean science in Africa with these two important achievements, the PhD program in marine and environmental science, and the research center in marine science also that will be hosted in Namib, the center, and the PhD program coordinated by the Agostinho Neto universities, and Carmen here it's representing both because she's in fact connecting to both institutions. I'm just adding also that this program has the funding of the European Commission through the expertise of France. We have received this funding recently. It was just a small add here because Carmen, as in the middle of the conference and the representation of Angola. But what I think this is already included in our voluntary commitment, and I think it will be really relevant to this as a product also of this side event. Thank you, Carmen.
Not at all. Yes, this is our commitment for that project, and of course we can we can show our future for the many things very important for our science and our scientists in both of our countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. So to close this session, Professor Alexandra Teodosio will start the discussion of the voluntary ocean commitments of the side events and contribution of ongoing projects to capacity building strategies and marine research in Africa. So, Alexandra.
I will try to share a small presentation with the major commitments that we have decided, just to I'm sharing or not? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So within the organization of this side event in the Ocean Conference, we are in same give some advice to submit a voluntary commitment. So what I have joined together all our contributions in the different projects that we are running together, and propose the send document that I think I was doing this on Sunday night or Monday morning. I'm not completely sure. And until tomorrow, we have the opportunity to submit on the conference site our commitment. So we have until the 1st of July. And we have basically, when we open the link that I already shared with you, we have space for the partners. I have to identify the partners. I have to identify the countries, and I have a description of a voluntary commitment with 500 words, and we now also need to identify the ocean basin and the sustainable development goal. And the detail that we are addressing. So what I was doing in the commitment, I was trying to join all the contributions of the projects from the Luanda waterfront. That was one of the first, and the biofish that we had with African institutions, and then we also add the blue root, that it's a year grant, then more projects from the Agacan, like the little fish and the MarAfrica, and then also the PhD program that Carmen just mentioned, that was recently also funded through the expertise France. And joining all this, we are able to address the target 14A, that it's to increase scientific knowledge and develop research capacity in relation to our contribution to marine biology and to blue economy in different developing countries, in particular to small island developing country and the least developed country. So what I will be doing tomorrow to the in name of the representing the partners that will already allow me to do this, and I have here the confirmed institutions with an asterisk. I hope that by the end of this day I may receive more. So these are the ones that have already say yes, namely here from Algarve, also University of Namibia, Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte, University of Huelva, University of Agostinho Neto, the S2 Aqua, the Sustainable and Smart Aquaculture Collaborative Laboratory that joined more than 10 companies in the field of aquaculture, as Pedro also explained. So these are the institutions that I will be used tomorrow, and more if they are they want also to join. For this voluntary ocean commitment as a main objective, to advocate that science and education are the pathways for achieving ecosystem marine protection and blue growth, especially in Africa, in marine Africa, but also in all other parts of the world. And we would like that our partnership inspire the global thinking and in fact create new ways to protect the global ocean, our seas, and also a sustainable exploitation of the resources. The implemented methodologies will contribute to this commitment through higher education with regular distance learning, short intensive courses, as the ones that we are already developed through Luanda Waterfront or the Biofish, and soon after, according to the other project, but also in situ capacitation, in situ capacity building, and also using the master's and PhD joint programs that we also speak during this this session. Within this a voluntary ocean commitment, we are also addressing other sustainable development goals, namely develop equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities, especially through the professional masters, not only the biodiversity and fisheries and conservation professional master that Ester spoke, but also the one that we are planning to present next year about professional aquaculture, also targeting professional in the field with the 5 years of experience. And also we want to support the partnership of the Sustainable Development Goal 17, and all addressing mainly improve the quality of life in Africa coastal areas, and also protecting and respecting nature rights. The follow-up mechanisms that we propose and governance, they will be focused in the Marine and Environmental Science doctorate program, coordinated by the Agustin Neto, together with the Namib and University of Algarve. We'll have a year to start the implementation of this course, so start effectively in last May. But will be one important base. And then the biodiversity, the marine biodiversity, fisheries and conservation professional master that will start this September, as Professor Ester already also explained. And the other master that we hope to launch in 2023. We also have to give information about deliverables, and in the deliverables I am proposing a minimum of 8 research projects that are the ones that we are developing right now with the colleagues and the partners present. But I hope that until 2030 we have more than 8. I'm just having listing here the 8. I'm also adding as deliverables a minimum of 20 African PhD student support for in situ study programs, and this will be achieved mainly through the cooperation that we already have signed with the Portuguese Science and Technology Foundation through the CIMAR consortium that will receive 20 scholarships for African studies concerning marine science, and these are targeting especially local problems in coastal areas of Africa. Then we also propose as deliverable a minimum of 12 intensive short duration courses, as the ones that we have already been developed in oceanography, observational, as Lilian already mentioned, and others in data science and biodiversity surveys, in scientific writing, and others that are also planned shortly. And then the last deliverable is in fact the implementation of the CMR, the center that will be developed in the University of Namib, and the PhD that will start in the University of Agostinho Neto. These two deliverables are also linked to the first project that we had been funded in Angola, the Luanda waterfront. So this is mainly what we have to do and to submit tomorrow, and we are also able to change the commitments. For instance, for the aquaculture, what is that was discussed before, I'm not sure where, but it's here. It's targeting mainly non-feeding aquaculture techniques, especially to support green diets based on bivalves and algae. So what we are putting the targeting, and this is a little bit to also to answer Teresa, it's not the usual way of doing aquaculture in many other countries. We are trying to put our efforts in capacity building in completely sustainable techniques. I think this was also mentioned here. And I'm also willing to receive more contributions. We have just the 500s. I have already received by email several small contributions, corrections to the text that I sent in the beginning of the week. And nothing more by now. And I also would like to thank you all for being here. I will stop the sharing. Vanya.
I don't know if anyone have questions or comments.
Yes, I have one question. What do you mean by non-feeding aquaculture? We raise, but we don't feed them. That's great. I mean, that's fantastic economically.
This is the type of aquaculture that nowadays they indicate as more sustainable, how to grow bivalves, not feeding them, and how to produce macroalgae, not adding nothing more to the environment. So this is the main target. But I don't know if Pedro, that it's here, wants to.
I just have my question is based on. I mean, you may have species that you don't need to feed, but the best aquaculture, best economically, of course, and even socially, it's to raise very quick some species. So you have to feed them. The most important here is exactly the non-carnivorous animal. You cannot have an aquaculture, in my opinion. I'm sorry, but I believe in the future you cannot have an aquaculture depending on fisheries. Otherwise, you don't finish with the fisheries. I mean, you don't take away the problem of the fisheries. So for me, the most important is to do with the species more than the technology, I think. So that's why I asked, non-feeding aquaculture is great. These species that you don't have to make any effort or much effort, but I think it's much more important to deal also with the problem of carnivorous fish or carnivorous species. You have mollusks, which are also carnivorous.
We can
Did I make myself?
Yes, we can also add in the commitment also excluding the carnivorous. I'm not an specialist. I was receiving this contribution through the S2 Aqua collab, but and it was based on other proposals that we are also developing also through São Tomé and also Namib, where we are having some proposal to empower women and girls to have small ways of have some revenue just with producing this low level trophic level species. Yes, but we can add the carnivorous also in the commitment, excluding of course this specificity to reinforce more.
I wouldn't exclude immediately. I would say make an effort. I don't know how long this commitment this voluntary ocean commitment will be deal, maybe 5 years or something. In 5 years, you cannot finish with the carnivorous aquaculture, but make an effort.
At least not start. It's what we are meant not to start, because in most of those areas, the aquaculture it's not existing yet.
Yeah, maybe the commitment of making an effort to decrease.
It's until the end of the decade. Sorry, Teresa. The commitment it's until the end of the decade and 2030.
Okay, okay, but it could, maybe anyway you have a lot of countries which you cannot say stop culture carnivorous fish. They are depending on them, some of the countries. So I mean, maybe the commitment of making an effort for the decrease of aquaculture of something like that. If you want, I can think and I'll send you. This is my personal opinion, by the way.
Small note.
Yeah.
Because our commitment it's not to stop or to forbid anything. It's the commitment. It's just to capacity building in some of the areas. This is our committee because it's what we have as a higher education institution or research institute. We have the ability to in fact commit. Okay.
Anna.
I think in context, the problem are not carnivorous fish, but piscivorous fish. And the good thing is to move as close to the base of the food web at the level of aquaculture or at the level of fishing. This would be the best. I think and in the end, most of the fishes, there are lots of species that are really omnivorous. So the problem is when the species are piscivorous. So it means really that we should avoid high trophic level species.
If you allow me, Anna, I mean, officially, well, scientifically or officially, the name carnivorous that's what they use, not fishery, piscivorous is carnivorous, because they feed on meat of fish. So I mean that's what usually it's used is the carnivorous because they meat.
Because I would discriminate invertebrous fish.
That's why I use
that are carnivorous and could eat bivalves. They are carnivorous because they eat meat.
Exactly, but that's exactly. The carnivorous means because they eat meat of their own species, the different species, but also is mainly the problem here is to be dependent on fisheries. You cannot fish to feed fish.
I will just add to make an effort to reduce high trophic level species, and I will not put the carnivorous and the piscivorous in the way. Okay, I think it will be more easy.
So Alexandra, we have a comment in the chat from Helena Correia. Living in the living in the Anthropocene, the great acceleration, maybe the commitment behind related to the timeline, time scale, slow fishing, slow food movements.
As I was trying to explain before, maybe I was not clear, the commitment that we as higher education institutions and we are not politicians to decide. Our contribution is in training or capacity building in to have some behaviors that will benefit the health of the ocean. I will be for me difficult to put this directly connect with the education, but if you are able to send me some contribution in this regarding to this, I will be able also to join. Okay, I'm not sure who was the Helena Correa. If you want to send me some contribution more targeting the capacity building related to this issue, I think it will be, it's also included in the advanced education, in the PhD programs or in the master, the professional master. This issue will be by sure addressed.
So I can join a discussion for say only one way for this commitment for us is in order to we can show our presence in capacity building. For us is very important because we need the professionals in for work, for do the programs. So we need the commitment, a very many areas. The social areas in the beginning, but after we need to for not for only for education, but for research and for the transfer of knowledge to the community, transfer the products to the community, and we are very agree and very happy to be part of that commitment. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you also, Carmen.
Dominguez commented, so she wants to do a contribution to related to the aquaculture of seaweeds and microalgae. So we can, she can send to you, Alexandra, the more detail about this.
She's here? No.
Yes.
Dominguez, do you want to?
No, I will get in touch with Alexandra by email. I think it's much better because there's a need to promote this seaweed culture in Angola. As I said, we have seaweed species for aquaculture interest, and especially also for these spirulina species. That is important. So later on, I will write to Alexandra.
Okay, thank you, Dominguez, but I'm just adding that the aquaculture of algae and bivalves are already mentioned in the and we don't have the 500 words do not allow a lot of development, but this idea is already included, and I think it's quite important also.
Okay, thank you.
Esther, do you want to say something?
I was just going to add that for aquaculture of algae, there are many different objectives that can be achieved with aquaculture of algae. One is just for production, for example, for food. And then there's also aquaculture of algae that is used in different countries for mitigation. For example, as integrated aquaculture, integrated with fish and bivalves to improve the water quality in other aquacultures of animals, right? Because it's more integrated and nature-based solutions. And there's also aquaculture of algae that's being developed to actually recover marine forests and ecosystems where the algae have been destroyed. So there's a lot of different objectives that can be achieved with aquaculture of algae, but we can discuss this later on in another stage.
Okay, thank you, Esther. I think this is quite relevant, although with the space that we have, algae, it's mentioned, and I hope it will be understood in the way that you were explaining. Okay. And there is also Lilian. Do you want to?
Yeah, I sent you a message in private because I'm not sure if it's pertinent or not here. But
I think it is.
Yeah.
Please explain to because I was not aware of this.
What I was explaining to Alexandra is that we at POGO, we stopped using the term capacity building and use capacity development, because the term building imply on starting something from scratch and kind of imposed, whereas capacity development, it's express an approach that builds on existing skills. And quoting the European Parliament, better express an approach that builds on existing skills and knowledge, driving a dynamic and flexible process of change born by local actors. So I think that we can express better the term that it's not something imposed, but all actors in all these organizations here in Europe and in Africa are collectively working towards improved capacity there.
I think
everywhere.
I think it's relevant because maybe there are some areas or some countries where maybe that it starts from the basis, but there are others where it's development. And I think I think it will be more correct to change to capacity development, as you were explaining. I think it will be adequate.
I wasn't sure exactly because it is. I can see that in some places it's actually starting, but maybe development can be better applied to all activities that will be in the collective statement.
Okay, thank you.
Alexandra, can I speak just a little bit?
Yes.
I think it was a very intense discussion about aquaculture, but I would like to take also and center a little bit the discussion on what I think is important for next future generations. Providing, for instance, the example of cars and the new obligation until 2035 that we need to avoid diesel and gasoline cars. So my idea is that, of course, we need aquaculture. We really need it, but I hope that the statistics shown by Pedro will change in the next future decades. That is why I think that we need to have some caution, is to understand that the most important is to rebuild fisheries. We can do it with the MPAs, we can do it with the artificial reefs, enhancing fishing capacity. Because as more we rebuild fisheries and we can sustain levels that we have at historical levels, the less dependence in aquaculture we be. And for me, this is detrimental in a green policy or a blue growth of any of the world, because there is nothing more efficient and more sustainable than the nature itself. So this should be something that we should have in VAs as a future goal until the end of the century, for instance. Depend less on these technicals that for now we are completely dependent of, because 50% is produced in aquaculture, but in long term start to understand that natives can do the job by us.
Okay, thank you, Francisco. This part it's already included in the main objective. It's not even mentioned aquaculture, but it's the rebuilding of the marine species population. So this is also
I think it's
already
better. Much better approach.
Okay. The discussion in size was only here in oral. It's not reflected in the committee. In the committee, it's just
yeah, it was a little bit out of the scope. Yeah.
Okay. Just to. I don't know if we have more comments, or we can end now, and if until I will receive also contributions until the end of the day, and with this and the others that I received during the week, I will share tonight also the document that I will submit tomorrow. If some of you want to contribute in some way, okay? This is just a short commitment, 500 words, okay? But we need to address the right targets of the Sustainable Development Goals, okay? Then you can close the session.
Okay. So before you leaving, I want to take another picture, please. And please turn on your cameras. And in Portuguese, to São Tomé partners. São Tomé, eu vi que vocês têm mais gente na sala. Podem se juntar todos na foto também? Quem está mais aí? Vai lá para trás. Vai lá para trás, para o pé do Gulai. Isso. Vá. Vou tirar a foto. Smart. I take one, but I want to take another one. So smile again. Okay. I want to say thank you for the organizers, Alexandra, Esther, Francisco, and all the participants during this side event. So it was a pleasure to work with you to discuss these issues for the Africa. So thank you very much.
And we'll continue in the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Very strongly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.